I admit it, I used Okcupid for a while after a breakup. Met some cool people and some not so cool. There was this one guy, Travis, that I was chatting it up with, but was not interested in meeting up with romantically. He lived one town over, and he knew that I did not want to pursue anything with him. He suggested that we be Facebook friends since we had a lot of similar interests and could talk about loads of things. I agreed, and we talked pretty frequently. Eventually, I let him have my cell phone number so we could text. This was a mistake. He disappeared for a few months, stopped posting on Facebook. I didn't think too much of it since he wasn't someone I truly knew. When he reappeared, he sent me a picture of several medication bottles and told me he had a breakdown and been hospitalized for a schizophrenic episode. He also sent me some strange selfies, poor lighting, grimacing expressions, and a disheveled appearance. Conversations resumed as normal until he started insisting that we meet in person, which I repeatedly rejected the idea of. One night, he texted me repeatedly,
"Where are you? Let's meet. I need to see you. Talk to me."
I started getting really uncomfortable, so I messaged him on Facebook and asked him to stop. He said he couldn't, that he had to talk to me. I asked him if there was something wrong, and he said he hadn't been taking his meds and felt scared. He then told me that he was coming to my house and told me my address, which is not posted on Facebook and he has no reason to know, particularly since he doesn't live in my town. I told him not to come, and he started babbling all sorts of nonsense about how he could just capture me and he'd be my king. I got nervous and asked him to please stop, to which he responded,
"You shouldn't be so mean when there are greats out there like Ed Gain."
I blocked him on Facebook at this point, and he begins calling me over and over again, with text in between.
"Why aren't you picking up? Talk to me. I need you to pick up the phone. I need you to be mine."
He left several voicemail messages as well, telling me he was on his way and that he'd take me away. He said I was worth fighting for, and that he'd capture me eventually. I didn't answer him, and the calls and text eventually stopped. I told my roommate what was happening so he could keep an eye out for anyone around that didn't look like they belonged. The guy dropped off the map for several months, and I never did see him outside my house or anywhere nearby that I'm aware of. Months later, I got a message on Tumblr from a blog that turned out to be from him, saying that he'd seen me around and that he missed me, and he still thought we should meet up. I blocked that account too, and I never heard from him again. His Facebook has since been deactivated, as his Tumblr as well. I hope he got the help he needed, but wow, let's not meet. A week ago, I made a Plenty of Fish account for shits and giggles to see what kind of woman I'd match with. This was my first time using any sort of online dating application. I took the time and really went into detail in my About Me section of my online profile. It was explained to me that if I elaborated enough on my interest and hobbies, I'd match with someone more compatible. More or less, my curiosity got the best of me, so I began the tedious search for a potential match. After an hour or so of skimming through a wide selection of below-average women, up to some out of my league, I put down my phone and went about my errands for the day. Around 9 or 10 p.m., after feasting on an amazing chicken cutlet sandwich I had made, I received an unexpected notification on my iPhone. I checked, and to my surprise, I was messaged by a girl with the online profile name of "I see you, baby." She had wrote to me, "Hey handsome." I was pretty excited that someone had reviewed my profile and attempted to reach out to me, so I quickly scanned her profile to see that she hadn't even written anything about herself. I was curious as to why, but I'd figured I'd just ask her in the conversation. She only had one picture of herself on the site, which showed me she was smaller than I and very curvy. Cute, but not enough for me to consider dating. However, fate tempted me and I responded to her message. We began with the formalities, then to asking each other what our goals and aspirations were for the future. Her name was Elena. She was studying criminal justice at Buffalo State University. She showed a lot of interest in me and kept calling me Mr. Handsome, and eventually asked me for my personal cell phone number. With no hesitation, I gave it to her, and it ended up being a horrible decision. Elena immediately began to text message me with no remorse. At first it was flattering that she was showing me all this attention, but then it started to become overbearing. We had only just met each other an hour before. Around 1 a.m, after being exhausted from my own politeness in answering all of her messages one after another, I decided to call it a night and told Elena that I'd talk to her the next day. She didn't like that. "Don't go to sleep. Handsome, you can't leave me by myself. I'm not tired," she said. Hey, you there? Babe." It didn't stop. I became aggravated that this one particular chick couldn't take a hint. So I silenced my phone and went to sleep with my phone beside my head. I woke up in the middle of the night, startled to hear what sounded like breathing or movement. As I opened my eyes, to my horror, there she was, on my iPhone screen staring at me. Somehow she was able to use the video chat app FaceTime that's exclusive for iPhone users to call me, and somehow during my sleep, I answered the phone on accident. She stared and stared, then finally telling me in the most haunting way,
"You're so handsome when you sleep. Why don't you sleep with me?"
I quickly ended the phone call, then proceeded to block her and then delete my Plenty of Fish account. I vowed never to use any online dating website ever again. I see you, baby. Let's not meet. Around March of 2014, I started talking to this girl on Tinder. She seemed cool and fun, and after about a week of talking, she suggested we meet up in person. She invited me to this coffee shop, and I accepted. However, the day of, she started messaging me saying she had to tell me something. Her pictures on Tinder weren't actually of her. And yes, she was a guy. He claimed he really liked talking to me though, and begged me to still meet up with him. Naturally, I declined. I blocked his profile and continued on with my life. About a week later, I started talking to another girl. Once again, she seemed cool and fun, and we hit it off. She asked me if I spoke to people on Tinder frequently, and rather stupidly, I told her about my previous encounter with the man lady. She asked me if I wanted to meet up, and I said sure, as long as it was in a public place. We decided on a cafe, and the next day I sat at the table waiting. 5, 10, 15 minutes had passed, and she was nowhere to be found. I then peered out the window and saw, from across the street, a man staring at me intently. I looked away, waited a few seconds, and looked back. He was still standing there, staring. At that point, I left the cafe, got on my bike, and booked it home. I was definitely a little freaked out, but tried to pull myself together and reasoned that no one could have followed me. I then deleted my Tinder profile and things were normal for a few weeks. About 3 weeks later, I started getting phone calls. The numbers all showed up as unknown. I picked up the first few times to some guy breathing heavily into the phone. I was a little freaked out. After about a day, I stopped picking up any calls unless it displayed the caller's name. I then started receiving text. At first they were pretty harmless, calls for attention and begging me to meet in person. It then changed to very sexual text, until eventually the messages became threatening and whoever was messaging me started throwing out my family and friends' names and whereabouts, saying he would get them involved unless I answered. Because he was texting me, I could see a displayed number, but when I called the phone providers, they told me the number couldn't be traced and that it was probably a track phone. Great. I tried ignoring it for 2 weeks, not responding to the text, but eventually it became too much. I started getting upwards of 50 text and phone calls a day. I would wake up to 10 to 20 text messages every morning. I then decided to change my number altogether. The texting and calls stopped for a while, but sure enough, it started happening again. I called my phone provider asking if they ever gave out numbers at a user's request, and they said their policy stated that they wouldn't and couldn't unless valid identification was provided. Then one day, I tried logging into my Facebook, but was denied. Within a day, friends started contacting me asking what the hell I was doing, saying that they were getting terrible messages from my account. One in particular, one of my girlfriends was receiving messages about her mom who died years ago. I apologized profusely and told my friends what was going on. I contacted Facebook and explained the situation, and they helped me access my account again. At which point I deactivated it for a while. Enough was enough. I decided to contact the FBI, explaining what had been going on. They documented everything, but told me since I or any of my relatives or friends were in no immediate danger, they probably wouldn't be able to do anything. At that point I felt stuck. I thought about hiring a private investigator or a hacker. I decided against it, however, and just hoped it would fade out if I never answered. I left my Facebook deactivated and ignored any text or phone calls. I never had any trouble at home, but some of my closest friends received the occasional text as well, which weirded us all out. I hated that they got dragged into it. One day I came home and things felt very eerie. Door unlocked, windows open, and no one home. A strong breeze running through the apartment. I checked out the place and found nothing else weird, so I locked everything up and just waited for my roommates to get home. It's been almost 7 months now. The calls and text have more or less stopped. I'll get an occasional text, but at most one every 2 weeks. At the peak of it, I was receiving almost 100 texts a day. It definitely affected my social and personal life. I became much more weary of the people around me and my surroundings. I just felt like I couldn't really focus on anything until this stopped. Work was difficult, though I tried to maintain my composure as best I could. Everything was just weird. Life was weird. I've since stopped using all forms of dating apps. Things are getting back to normal, and at this point, I just want to put it all behind me. I'm moving at the end of this year, so it'll be nice to have a fresh start in a new place. I'm not going to sit here and say all dating apps are dangerous and no one should use them, but definitely cover your bases, ask more questions before meeting someone, FaceTime them first, Skype, anything. I was naive about it and I regret it. Be safe, Stick close to your friends and try meeting people in more traditional ways. Weird Tinder stalker, let's not meet. Hey guys, thank you all for watching. And if you like this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join the Nightmare Army. I'm always looking for new soldiers in my Nightmare Nation. So guys, I just wanted to let you know that the subscriber submitted scary stories video is going to be going up this Friday. Just, giving you guys a big promise on that. But the reason why I'm mentioning it again is because I know all of you still have some scary stories that you want to submit to me. So please, just keep on submitting them in my email address, and I'll keep on squeezing as many stories as I can through this video. And one more thing I want to talk to you guys about. After the subscriber submitted story video, I just want to know, you guys as the audience and my lovely subscribers, what other different topics do you guys want me to explore in certain videos? Like, what other scary stories do you guys want me to do? And the reason why I'm asking this and almost pushing it is because I'm always trying to look for something different to approach to my channel, a different scary story, a different video, just because I like keeping things fresh and I like my channel to be unique in a sense where I like doing stuff different every once in a while or almost every video. So I want to know from you guys, what other ideas do you guys have for me and what other topics do you guys have for me? As always, guys, thank you all for watching, and just remember, the best ideas always come out of nightmares.